Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Betting Show Week 2, brought to you by freebets.com, the very best free bet offers brought to you daily by the Free Bets team. Adam, we've made it to Week 2. This is usually the point of the show where we review what happened last night, but we're a day earlier, so we haven't had that Commanders-Packers game.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can fill in a little bit of time for you because I had a winner last week. So anyone who went to the Free Bets website, 6-1 winner. I gave you all a 6-1 winner. What more could you want from me? This guy over here, I'm pointing the wrong way. This guy over here, I'll get it right. Eventually I'll get it right. Moaned. 6-1. Is that all? Is that all? That's what he said to me. Moaned about it. I gave everyone a 6-1 winner. What more do they want? Make sure you go over to Free Bets and check out all of the articles. I will have a bet builder every Thursday night. I will also have an accumulator for all the Sunday games as well. And there's even a news one that I chuck out every now and then. I believe this week I said that the Miami Dolphins are crap. So that's the sort of thing that you get from me. Congratulations. Probably Dolphins fans won't like it, but there you go. And plenty of other stuff over there. Lots of football articles, lots of golf, tennis, cricket, all the sports that you want. So go over to Free Bets and check that out. But yeah, he moaned at me. 6-1. Didn't like it. He wanted bigger odds.
Wasn't big enough odds for me. That was on the money line, wasn't it? You had the money line on all the
Do you know what you are? Greedy. That's what you are. Greedy.
I like low cost, high reward rather than
yeah.
I don't want to put loads on, but I want to win loads. So yeah, you went 5 of 5 on your money line. We went 3 of 2 on the FTAG5.
3 of 2? You mean 3 of 5?
Yeah. 3 of 5. We lost 2. 3 and 2. Went 3 and 2.
I thought we were unlucky though.
Yes. So all of them, we got the right winner. It was just the spread on the Steelers game. They won by 2 instead of 2.5. And the Bengals only won by 1, which was the surprising one. I thought that was a for sure bet on that one. So yeah, we got all the winners correct, just the spreads weren't quite there on those 2 games. But it's a decent start for week 1. It's notoriously a bad week to bet on because you never know what's going to happen. You've had the money line winner. We had a good start to the FTAG5, so it started well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hopefully we can get some more going in this week as well, because we were saying before, it certainly for touchdown scores, to me, it's felt like the betting companies have really come in on some of the big names already, so there's not particularly great odds for them. But you were saying yourself, you've got a couple of ones that you've sort of looked at and they're actually decent odds and you're quite happy with. And I must admit, I've got a couple where I sort of feel like they're over, they're over like 10-1. They're not short, like really small or anything like that, but it's just like there is stuff out there. And also I kind of felt like we've, you look at some of you tend to get overreaction, and I feel like the betting market overreacts to some things. The Colts, sorry. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing you got to keep an eye on.
Well, you mocked me for just then for saying your 6-1 wasn't big enough. You also mocked me for picking Javonte Williams to score, which was a tip. You mocked me for picking Jaylen Warren to score, who went in. And then the other one was Daniel Jones at 4-1. I said on the show, Daniel Jones 4-1, and you laughed.
Yeah. I mean, I do laugh at most of the things that you say, though. So, you can't really have a go at me for it.
I mean, there's some winners there that I've given you. But we'll take a look. I will jump into our FTAG for week 2, Adam. I found it quite difficult this week. The games are they're either obvious wins and the spreads are high, or quite difficult games to call after seeing what we saw after week 1. The first one up I've gone, I don't know whether the odds have changed slightly, but the first one I've gone for and I've locked in is the Rams at 5.5 points against the Titans. I think the Titans, although Cam Ward looked okay, didn't have a bad game. They just haven't really got the pieces on offense for the team. The defense isn't quite up to the scratch of what some of the other teams. And the Rams, as you've said, are one of your hot favourites for the Super Bowl. They look good. They play well. Defense is decent. 5.5. I think they can win this by a touchdown. It's 2 field goals is enough, but I think they can win this one by a touchdown plus. I think they're a good unit. I think Titans are going to be picking in the top 5 in the draft this year. So that's where I've got them. So I'm locking in this one for them to win by a touchdown quite comfortably.
Yeah, I really like this one. As I said, as you pointed out, I've been going on about the Rams for a little bit. I'm actually surprised at the amount of people who, like established media people who have sort of like gone away from the Rams because of the whole Matthew Stafford injury stuff before the season. And I understand that, it's the quarterback. So the fact of the matter is he goes down, that probably is the end when it comes to them winning the Super Bowl. But, from everything we were told by Sean McVay and what was coming out was he was going to play, he's going to start, he's doing okay. And I have to say, from what I saw against the Texans, he looked fine. I mean, he's not going to run around, but that's not his game anymore. You're not going to get that from him.
Williams to do that for him.
Exactly. He's a pocket passer, isn't he? That's what he's going to do. So he doesn't need to run around. So I'm surprised that so many people have gone away from him. Yeah, I think that for this game specifically, -5.5, it's within the touchdown, which is great. I think the Rams roster just overall so much better than what the Titans roster is. One thing I would say, I felt that Cam Ward, it was a tough start for him, obviously going against the Denver Broncos, but he only had 28 attempts, and to me, I was sort of like sitting there going, you need to trust him a bit more. You need to give him a bit more chance. But he only got 12 completions from the 28 attempts that he had, and it just kind of felt like it never really got going for him. It was it 4 field goals I think they scored? They only got 12 points, didn't they? It was a tough one. And like you say, the offense isn't great. I think that Calvin Ridley is decent, but once you get past that, it's difficult to really imagine them being able to do anything significant. The defense, I thought the defense did reasonably okay against the Broncos, but it wasn't great. And I feel like this is just going to be take 2. Like I don't see anything changing here. I mean, the only difference is that it's going to be at the Titans. That's the only real difference. And the Rams have got a really strong front 7 who I think will put so much pressure on Ward that he's just going to really struggle. And yeah, I just don't see the Titans putting enough points up in order to be able to really cause an upset here. So yeah, -5. I like it. I like the Rams to win it. I like the Rams at -5.5. And yeah, I think they'll do it relatively easily.
The next game I've picked out is the Denver Broncos. Now, originally when I had this, it was -2. It's now in at -1. This may be some of the hype that you were saying the Colts are getting after their dismantlement of the Miami Dolphins and their defense, which let Daniel Jones score on every possession that he had the ball, which is not going to happen every week. And it's definitely not going to happen against this Broncos defense. They're going to put a lot more pressure on him. The secondaries, like elite secondary, they're going to be picking him off. They're going to be putting him under pressure. He's going to be fumbling the ball if he tries to run, I reckon. Some more of what we saw of him at the Giants. So I think it's a bit back down to earth, and at -1 now as well. I think that's a lovely price to have for the Broncos. I think Bonix did struggle in a little bit last week, but now he's got that week 1 under his belt. I think progression will be back for him, and really like them at -1 in this game.
Have we all forgotten what Daniel Jones was like as an NFL quarterback before last week? Like, as literally, have we all got amnesia or something? Like, because he wasn't great, was he? He was at the Giants, and I know that a lot of people are going to come out and say things like maybe the O-line wasn't fantastic, or at the Giants, or different circumstances, but they weren't that bad. Yeah, that O-line at the Giants wasn't that bad. A lot of it was on him, and there's a reason that they didn't stick with him. This is like, when I said about the Titans basically it being take two, this couldn't be any further from who they went up against in week one. That Miami Dolphins defense was atrocious. It was not on it at all. So many gaps. I mean, Daniel Jones had so much time to just be able to pick passes to the likes of Pittman, Tyler Warren, and it was so easy for him. And there was no pass rush coming up against him either. They literally did nothing. So it was very, very simple for him. You're going up against arguably, and I would say, the best defense in the league. And they're not going to just sort of go, feel free, Daniel, you go along and do whatever you like. They're not going to do that. They're going to be so much faster to him than what the Dolphins were. Like you say, the secondary is elite. You've got these players who have come over in Hufanga and Greenlaw, who have come over from the 49ers, who were part of the 49ers during that sort of 3-year run where they kept on getting to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. This defense is ridiculous. And the idea that the Colts are going to be amazing against them is insane. I just don't understand where this theory is coming from. Now, I think that people might factor in that Bo Nix wasn't great against a Titans defense that wasn't great either, so he didn't play particularly well. But to me, from watching that game, what I saw a quarterback that struggled in the first half and then seemed to get it going in the second half and seemed to get better as the game went on. And that, to me, is a quarterback who's just shaking the rust off from not having any preseason whatsoever. And that game against the Titans essentially was his preseason. So I would expect him to be better. I know the Colts defense did well. But again, I'd say they were going up against the Dolphins, who did nothing. And I would have the Broncos to win this game outright, let alone with, outright -1, whatever. You said it was -2. I'd have that. I'd be happy with -2.5.
I took it at -2 when we first put it together. It's just the fact it's got even better for you. I think. So.
I can't say enough as to I find it stunning that it's so close between these two teams, and it's just that we've all completely forgotten what we said about both of these teams before the season started.
If this game was last year at the end, towards the back end of the year, the only difference is the quarterback really of the Colts. You're not picking the Colts, so Daniel Jones doesn't make them automatically like a contender with the Broncos. We're talking about the Broncos qualifying for the playoffs and the Colts struggling. So it doesn't change it for me.
No.
That defense is too good, and I think Bo Nix will get it done. The next game that I've got is the New England Patriots. Again, another one that has changed. I have actually taken the plus. Well, I took +1.5. It's now +1. So maybe a few people are getting on the bandwagon as well with the Patriots winning this. The Dolphins, yes, I know when we spoke about it, you said, they need to come out and prove a point and play better. But the Patriots, I think they've got a lot of new faces on that team, and they just needed 1 week to gel. They didn't all play together in preseason. They've had that one game now, and they didn't look awful against the Raiders. I think the Raiders were just played well as well. So I think the Patriots gel better. They come out as a better team. I think Vrabel will get them firing on all cylinders this week, and I think they get the win money line if you want it against the Dolphins, but I've taken them at the +1.5 or +1 as we're doing the spreads, and I like the Patriots to win this game.
Yeah, so what I'd say about the Dolphins is that they've got to play. They can't play any worse, So they're kind of at that point where it has to get better.
It actually can't get worse, can it?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
conceded on every drive. Can it get worse?
Yeah. So it can only get better, and they're going to be at home in front of their own fans. So I feel like that will maybe provide a bit more motivation as well. The concern is that obviously you're coming from such a low bar. You have to kind of question how high they can actually get from this point. And the difference with a lot of these teams, you can come out and say it was week 1, yeah, okay, they struggled and that maybe, they needed a bit more help and they needed a bit more gelling. You can say that of a lot of teams. With the Dolphins, it's actually quite difficult to say that because you need to see something in the first place. So with the Patriots, they had a lot of new starters and you could see that there were bits that were working and bits that weren't. So you sort of think, okay, give them time and eventually that will get better. With the Dolphins, nothing worked at all, and you sort of feel a little bit like I don't quite know how you're gonna suddenly become this much better team. I think personally, I think the Patriots are probably more likely to win this game, just because I just don't see how there's nothing about the Dolphins from their performance last week that makes me think anything's going to get any better, and that's the problem. So it's almost like I can't back them because it's like how can you? And so in turn, it's almost like it's a weird one. I'm not backing the Patriots because I think they're going to be great, but I'm backing the Patriots because I think I just can't see the Dolphins suddenly turning it around so quickly and being so much better. And that's probably not the greatest reasons to back someone, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it at all. The fact you're getting plus as well,
Yeah, I'm shocked that they're the favourites. I don't get how the Dolphins are the favourites with that display. How do you then?
I mean, in theory, the Dolphins have got better players, haven't they?
What they've got Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, they've got Jalen Waddle.
Who was disappointing. He didn't have a good game.
And got injured. Shock horror.
I suppose Achan's a good player.
Achan, yeah.
I think we'll see a better version of Henderson this week. I think
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I think it's just one of them things where I think a lot of people would look at that and go, "Oh, the Dolphins have got better players." I think if you looked at the roster, a lot of people would say that over the Patriots. And also, I do kind of feel like, because the Patriots have been so poor over the last few years, that's probably why this has come about. Because, I mean, we say that, I know technically the Dolphins are favourites, but it's as near as makes no difference, isn't it?
Yeah. The next one I've left it to a little bit later on the board of this one before we talk about the last one. And that is the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, we had this before the news came out that Brock Purdy's now going to miss 2 to 5 weeks. Definitely missing this week. And it was originally at 4 to 5. And then the news came out and it's only moved to 3. So it hasn't dramatically moved. So it'll be Mac Jones that comes in and plays in his place. But as we've said with the 49ers, it's often been a system quarterback place where it often doesn't massively concern who the quarterback is as long as they fit the system. And I think Mac Jones is that type of quarterback. I think he's a system quarterback. Worked well for him in Alabama when he was a system quarterback. I think it worked well with him here. Shanahan, I believe wanted him in the draft the year that he was available, and they didn't go for him, and he's now there now. I think it'll be lots of McCaffrey, who looked good again, healthy, used in run and the passing game quite a lot. Pearsall's still there. I know that Kittle's out, so there isn't that safety blanket. But I didn't see a lot I didn't see loads from the Saints to be like, yeah, do you know what? I want to put my money on the Saints just because Purdy's out. I don't think if Purdy was fit, you'd be saying I would have thought you'd be saying this is a comfortable win for the 49ers, who had a tough game week 1. They didn't play nobodies and they came away with the victory. So I'm going to take the -3 still. And I think Mac Jones has a good game and the 49ers win this one.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, this one, obviously, because without Purdy, it does make a difference. But I mean, the fact that you've lost your starting quarterback and yet you're still 3-point favourites to win this game says an awful lot about where the New Orleans Saints are as a team. I think, like you say, with Mac Jones, we saw him, didn't we, at the back end of last season with the Jags, that he actually didn't look too bad. It's like he was getting the ball to Brian Thomas a lot. He was doing pretty well. And although they didn't win loads of games, I think he did win a couple. So I think
that was a knock on the fantasy for this year for Brian Thomas Jr., wasn't it? People were saying, he's going to have Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball more, not Mac Jones. Yeah. So, I think there's positives to be had now he's away from that last year at the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think, and also the other thing you got, it's not like he's coming in mega cold. I mean, he played during preseason, probably played more than what Brock Purdy did. So, it's like there's that benefit to it as well. And as you say, look, I mean, you've got Christian McCaffrey there, who kind of showed last week that he can cope with the workload again. And whether that will last, who knows? But for now, I think it will be okay. And yeah, I mean, I think because of that, most of it will go through Christian McCaffrey. Mac Jones has shown that he is capable of targeting a receiver. Obviously, George Kittle being out is really difficult for them, but at the same time, they've still got Ricky Pearsall there. I think Jawan Jennings is meant to be okay. So there are a couple of receivers, really good running back. So I think they'll be able to put points up against this Saints team, who looked just really poor when they played last week. They really struggled. And aside from the one Alvin Kamara run where he managed to get in, the rest of it was pretty dire, and I think that's what you're probably going to see quite a lot of from the Saints this year. So the fact that it's -3, that's quite. I think that's actually quite nice, because even if you do end up sort of getting done by a field goal here, sorry, even if you end up sort of like winning by a field goal, isn't it? If you have that. I think you get the push, and I think that's probably quite useful in this game. So yeah, I quite like. I'm not against it. It's not. I'm not overly desperate to put money on Mac Jones, I have to say, but I can understand why. And like you say, when it comes to the whole sort of system quarterback thing that you have with the 49ers, I think it's definitely a win for them here.
And then my last game I've gone for, and as you put in the group yesterday after I put it out, I'm going to make you wait to see if this one comes in. If you've got 4 ticks already, you'll be waiting and staying up late to watch this game, because I've had the Chargers beating the Raiders at 3.5-point favorites. I think the Chargers, for me, week 1 looked like one of the better. Aside from what the Bills and the Ravens game was, the Chargers were probably one of the most impressive teams of week 1 for me. The way they played, the way Herbert played, the way, all the receivers looked good for them, which is a knock that we've had. I think Quentin Johnson looked good. Lad McConkey looked good. Keenan Allen back there looked good. I think Hampton is only going to grow with them, and we know what their defense is as well. I think they're a better outfit than the Raiders, who had a good week 1. And I can't see many teams beating the Chargers. So at 3.5, I like it. I think they can win by a touchdown plus in this game. I think, as I said, they were one of the most impressive week 1 winners. And I feel like they get the victory here as well.
Yeah, I do really like it. I think that It's only 3.5, so I'm not that upset about it. One thing I would say, I do think the Raiders are going to be sneaky good this year. I think they're going to be a decent side, and they're going to beat up a lot of the poorer teams that they go up against. The Chargers obviously are not one of the poorer teams that they're going to be going up against, and I think that because of everything you said, that's why the Chargers will win this relatively comfortably. I think what was really nice to see from the Chargers when they played the Chiefs last week was, I think the problem with having Greg Roman as your OC is that it's all about the run most of the time. And it was really nice to see the fact that it wasn't about the run for them against the Chiefs, because the Chiefs basically sold out and stopped the run and just went, you're going to have to beat us by passing against us. And it was nice to see that actually he, made the play calls that were the right ones to make, and to be able to go against them in that way. And I think that is really, really positive for the Chargers going forward this season. That says a lot. So yeah, I think that I think the Chargers are just a cut above when it comes to the Raiders here. However, it's annoying because it's on Tuesday morning for us.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock in the morning as well. That's proper late, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why they're doing this 2-game Monday night football thing. Just stick another game on at
You want another 9:30 game on the Sunday?
Yeah. No, sort of like a instead of like an early afternoon one that you have an extra one in the later games on the Sunday. So,
well, all those odds on those picks come in at 20. Well, they've changed slightly because they've moved around, but they hover around the 24-1 mark. I know the original odds were nearly 25-1. I think it's come down a little bit to 24. So, cheeky fiver on that gets you back over 100 quid. Happy days. Adam, there's a couple in there you were a bit umming and ahhing about. I know you weren't a fan of the 49ers overly, or the Patriots. Which is the game that I missed, and which one are you putting in there?
So the one that I quite like the look of, and I'm kind of throwing in the next section into this as well, because it actually comes into the same thing where it's like, the idea is, I'll tell you about the one that I like, but I'm also going to tell you at the same time about the favourite that we're going to avoid as well. I quite like the Jags at +3.5 this week. Now, the reason that I like them and the reason that I'm avoiding the Bengals is we saw last week the Bengals tried their best to throw this away against the Browns. They really did. And actually, the Browns should have won. They had the opportunities to win that game. Historically, the Bengals have struggled in the first few weeks of every season. It just seems to be what they do. And they literally fell across the line last week. I think +3.5 for a Jags team who won comfortably against the Panthers, and actually I think probably could have done a lot more than what they did. For some reason, I think because there was so little from the Panthers, the Jags just didn't really need to do much. And I don't know why that happened from the Panthers. I don't know why they struggled so much. But yeah, so I really like the +3.5.
Yeah, I like the Bengals for that game. It's probably why I avoid it. I'm maybe should be taking some more advice from your Aka Void. I thought you were going to go, because there is a couple there that I thought you were going to go for. As I'm guessing your Aka Void is don't put your money on the Bengals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the other two I was 50-50 with, and I'll just get your thoughts on them before we move on, was the Cardinals at 6.5 against the Panthers. Cardinals, they were just a bit too, as I've said, the season, until I see them for a few weeks, I find them quite inconsistent on a week-to-week basis. So I didn't put my money on them. But odds for me would point towards, after what I saw from week 1, the Cardinals beating the Panthers by a touchdown. Your thoughts on that game?
I think that makes sense. I get it. What I didn't like about the Cardinals is the fact that it's -6.5. I just felt it was quite a high line for a Cardinals offense that I'm just not. I think they're all right. I think they're a solid team. I don't know. I still don't trust Kyler Murray to really sort of like go and beat a team by a big margin. I actually really like them to win this game, but the idea of them, I don't know. I don't know what it is about the Cardinals. They never seem to win big, like, or very, very rarely win big. It's always very, very tight. And so the 6-5 is what put me off of that one. What was the other one?
The other one is the Cowboys at -5 against.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, and I didn't.
They played well against the Eagles.
Yeah,
and the Giants did not. Well, defense played well, but they did not play well on offense against the Commanders, which isn't well known for being like an elite defense. But they never got any time. They never managed to move the ball. They only had 2 drives of any like noteworthy drives in which, you know, we didn't get in the end zone. I do think that the Giants defense and front 7 might overpower that young O-line, and Dak's not got the mobility, and maybe the run game won't be as effective with Javonte Williams this week against them. So I think, me as a Giants fan, I'm optimistic that if the offense sorts itself out and Brian Dable sorts that out a bit, it might have a chance in this game. But, you know, when you put your proper hat on and you look at this, Cowboys should win this game comfortably, right?
Yeah, I think they win it. Yeah, definitely. And I kind of didn't. I was trying to be nice to a certain extent, but I feel like it's a real sort of like we're going along. Like, basically, what we're doing is we're ripping up everything we've said in the preseason with this game, because the whole of the preseason we were basically coming out going, or certainly since the Micah Parsons trade, we were like, the Cowboys can't do anything. They're not. We reckon they're going to come bottom of this division. They're an absolute disaster. The Giants, we think, have got a good chance of being able to do something. They've got a really good defense that's going to stop a lot of teams, and they're going to win games because of it. And I understand that obviously we saw the offense from the Giants, which was pretty poor from Russell Wilson, to be honest. And obviously the Cowboys have come out and did pretty well against the Eagles. And you kind of feel like they had the potential to win that game. If they hadn't been them dropped. Yeah. First of all, I'd come out and say, I think the Cowboys' performance was definitely helped by Jalen Carter not being out there. So I don't think they're necessarily as good as what their performance was in reality. They're going up against I still maintain, a very good defense in the Giants. And so I think that it's not going to be quite as simple as what people might think it's going to be. I think they win it. I'm not sure. I'm not completely out on the Giants yet, but if they put in another performance like they did last week, because I think the issue that they're going to have is that if they're going to do what they're doing, that defense is going to get tired very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Giants winning this week, probably just because I'm a Giants fan. So I'm not out on them yet. As a Giants fan, I'm not out. So
have you got them in your? If you try and come away from your bias, have you actually got them winning it outright, or have you got the +5?
If we're looking at it in betting terms and me thinking it could be a close game, you'd be silly not to take the +5. I think they win it. I think they could win it outright. I think they could overpower. The defense could overpower Cowboys' offensive line and really put pressure on it. And I don't think the Cowboys' defense is anywhere near as good as the Commanders' defense. So the Giants, if they can get that run game going, maybe Russell Wilson might be able to get a bit more out of the game. and get the ball to Neighbours and Robinson a bit more and actually put the pressure on and have good field position. So I actually think they could win it outright.
Okay, I'll let you off.
Well, the Dolphins apparently are favourites to win this week.
Yeah.
We were better than them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when I know I said the Bengals for the one to avoid, and I do still maintain that I would avoid the Bengals at -3.5. There was a few actually that I kind of felt like I would want to avoid. I wasn't overly keen on the Lions at -6. I have to say, from what I saw last week, I understand a lot of people might say, that the Packers defense was great, and the Packers defense was great, but I didn't see much coming from that run game. And, that Bears defense is still a reasonably good defense. So I wouldn't be overly keen on the -6 with them. As I said, the Bengals. I obviously the Dolphins, but I didn't really want to put it up because it was only -1. Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I'm not. Like I said, I think the Cardinals win, but -6.5 feels high for me. And then I mean, the Eagles are favourite at -1, which I get why they are, but again, it's just not one that I'd want to be getting involved in.
Should we move on to some touchdown scorers?
Yeah.
Well, I went first last week, so hit me with your early treble. Because I'll tell you what, I've got 2 trebles for the early window. I've got one that's a reasonable odds and one that's ridiculous odds.
So my my first one for the early one, I think the Jags are going to do reasonably all right. So I'm going for Brian Thomas at 7-5. But I'm also including Puka Nacua for the Rams. Now, last week we went Devontae Adams, and that was the one that screwed me over because I had 2 out of 3 in the late games. They're both 13-10. I would probably come out and say whichever one you like the most, to be honest. I think that they've both got a chance of getting in, but I will go for Puka just purely because I believe that he like, even last week, I felt like Adams was involved more than what Cooper Kupp was last season, but I still felt like Puka was where the ball went first, wasn't it? So I think for him, at 13-10. And then I've gone for the Seattle Seahawks against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've gone for Zach Charbonnet. At 23-10. Now, the reason I've gone for Charbonnet is he had a lot more. He was out there more than what Ken Walker was, wasn't it?
50-50 split. I know that. I know Ken Walker got a few more of the targets. Well, the same thing. It was probably more, but he got all the goal line work and short yardage work. Exactly.
And I think that's probably how it's going to go. There's been rumours this week also of trading Ken Walker, which to be honest, I don't really see why they would want to do that. I think that would be a bit of a mental idea myself. And that they would be in a much better position if they kept the 2 of them. But yeah, I felt at 23-10, it was a much better one. I really struggled this week. I really did with the touchdown scores. I found that if you're going for the favourites, they're incredibly short odds, and you're looking at like 13-10 or 7-5 for like Brian Thomas or Puka Nacua. And of course, if you then put another one into that, you're lucky if you're hitting 10-1. So it was very difficult. But I felt like Charbonnet at 23-10. It's a decent price, which pushed it up a little bit higher. And we saw with the Steelers that you can score on them against the run. Breece Hall had a really good game, and Justin Fields rushed in a couple of touchdowns. And I feel like that because of that, there might be a chance that they get in and that Charbonnet gets like a 1 yard touchdown kind of thing. So yeah, 17.22-1.
Yeah, that's decent odds. We've briefly lost the odds on Bet365 just there, but so I've just removed it so we're not looking at a blank screen. Yeah, I've gone with people I thought had good. Well, I know my big one. I'll go with the shorter odds one first. I've gone with Keon Coleman at 2-1. Was clearly their wide receiver 1. Got all the target share. Got the touchdown as well, albeit wasn't a bit of a tricky one in the end zone. I think they're going to continue to go towards him. He's a big, strong guy. I think they'll use him in the end zone with the fact he's got the vertical on a lot of people. So you're not going to miss separation in the end zone. You don't necessarily need that. You just need to get up there and beat your man. So I like Keon Coleman at 2-1. They're going against the Jets. I've then gone for DK Metcalf at 9-5. He was more my sort of safer bet because I thought my other one was quite silly. He seemed to have the relationship with Rodgers. The ball seemed to go his way. Seemed to try and get him involved. I think they're not overly massively reliant on it just being pure run game now. Now Rodgers is there, and Metcalf is always a threat. So quite liked Metcalf this week against the Seahawks. And then my last one was Travion Henderson against the Dolphins. The Dolphins defense was horrendous. He's 8-5. I think he's going to be a lot more involved. He's going to be used more. I think he got every chance of being used in rushing and in passing. And the Dolphins defense was awful. So I thought that's the way to go for with this. He's got the better chance. So that came in at just under 21-1. So 20.85-1. So really quite happy with those odds on my safer bets. Adam, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so when I was doing my notes, I had Coleman and Henderson down. So more than happy with them. DK Metcalf, yeah, I mean he is the number one wide receiver on that team, isn't he? So it's entirely plausible that he can score. Obviously, he's going up against a Seahawks defense that looks pretty good, which is the only concern with that one. But they are at home, and they showed, didn't they, that they can put points up. I know it's against the Jets, but even still,
Rodgers looked good slinging the ball around as well. So if he's going to be slinging it round again, I think Metcalf is the way it's going to go.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
my bigger one that got the odds going. Had Coleman in it as still at 2-1 because I couldn't pass those odds up on him. I had Charbonnet in it at 23-10. And then I put a guy in there. This was the original one. I obviously traded him out and put Henderson in. Kayshon Boutte got the target share.
Okay, yeah.
He got the big target share there. The ball went his way a lot. He had a really good game. I was a big fan of his out of college. He's 7-2.
Yeah.
And they're going against the Dolphins again. Like I said, he's going against the Dolphins, whose secondary is pretty poor. It gives you a 43.55-1, and you like Coleman and you like Charbonnet. So if you like Boutte in this one as well,
again
50-1.
So again, I've got all three down. I think I can't remember the exact amount, but he was the most targeted receiver, wasn't he, in the Patriots game against the Raiders? And that game wasn't like it was out of control and everyone was just throwing it around all the time. It was literally that Drake May was targeting Boutte. Yep. So yeah, I'm not against that at all. Obviously, as I've said, like Charbonnet and Coleman. So yeah, it's big odds, but it's a decent one to go for.
Yeah, I think it's got a chance. Adam, what's your late game? Was really tough. There's only 3 games to pick from, so we know somewhat where the players are coming from in this. What did you go for?
Yeah, it is difficult, and there wasn't really much to go for here. For the Arizona Cardinals, I went for Marvin Harrison. He scored last week. I think he's going to be Kyler's number 1 wide receiver, and I thought he looked good last week. I thought he did pretty well, and going up against the Panthers defense, which struggled. So it's only 21-20, but we went for him. Last week we went with Courtland Sutton. We're going with him again for the Broncos, going up against the Colts. I believe that the Colts defense is not as good as what we saw against the Dolphins. It's just that the Dolphins were that bad. So at 17-10, I think Sutton, again, wide receiver 1 on that team, and should do pretty well. And then a slightly bigger price in the Eagles-Chiefs game, Bit of a difficult one, this one, because there isn't really anyone that you desperately want to go for. But I do feel like the Chiefs are probably going to try and stop the run in the same way that they tried to stop the run against the Chargers, which opens up the passing game for the Eagles. And I think that they're more than capable of getting a touchdown or two passing. So it's AJ Brown or Devonta Smith, and I just went for the one that was slightly bigger in price, which was Devonta Smith at 23-10. So put them both together, all three together, it's 17.27 to 1.
Yeah, very similar odds for your two. Decent odds as well. When you said you were struggling with the odds, I thought yours were going to be sort of 10, 11 to 1, but I'm not disappointed.
I felt like it was difficult because to me, when you're doing like the Eagles or the Chiefs, the main guys were all really, really short. And I know Devonta Smith is a main guy, but Devonta Smith is kind of, when you think Eagles, you go Barkley, Hurts, AJ Brown. He's like number 4 on the list. So I would say he's not the main guy sort of thing. And once you start doing that, obviously it feels like the obvious ones, the ones that you want to back because you think, yeah, there's a really good chance they're going to score. The odds are so short on them that you're not really getting much for it.
Yeah. My late one, I also went with Cortland Sutton at 17-10. I think the Broncos win that game and the ball's got to go somewhere. And I think that's the guy it goes to. I then went for a Chiefs player rather than an Eagles player. I think the Chiefs got a good chance in this game. We didn't see loads from the Eagles. So if they don't get our second gear, I think Chiefs have got a chance. Chiefs will probably want to win this one. They won't want to be going into week 5 looking at possibly 1 and 3. So they're going to want to try and get the victory here. And the ball predominantly went to Hollywood Brown. 10 receptions he had, 99 yards, nice game. Looks like he's going to fill the Rashee Rice void until he's back. I said this last year when he was injured that it looked like Hollywood Brown was playing his role. So at 17-10, I like Hollywood Brown in this game. Definitely, if the volume's going to go there, then I'm going to look at him in betting. And then lastly, I flicked between two people. And I'll tell you the odds for whichever one you put in. They're both Cardinals players. I've got Kyler Murray in one of them. Always think he's got a chance of getting in the end zone in any given game, especially against the Panthers.
He did last week, didn't he?
Did he?
Didn't he? I thought he did, didn't he? Might have been. Was it? Oh no, it's called. Sorry, it's pulled back, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did. Didn't get it.
No.
But he has, like you say, he's always got a chance of doing that. There's always an option. If the pass breaks down, he'll rush it if they go for a pass. So that came in at 23-1 for those guys. And then if you put a different player in, I like the look of Trey Benson. I really liked him in the game. I know he got less carries, but he's still got a lot of the carries. A younger back as well. Did have a reception as well. Obviously, it's more Connor that's going to be in the receiving game. But Trey Benson at 21-10, I like the odds. Outran Connor had the big one, didn't he? On that, but yeah, that came in at 21-1, so shorter odds. So I think the Kyler Murray one is the one I preferred the most. I think he, like you say, he's always got the chance of, if it's throw and play and it breaks down in the red zone, he'll scramble it in. Yeah,
I think the Murray one for me, I like slightly more, and given the fact it's bigger odds as well. Benson, yeah, I thought he looked good actually. I thought he did all right. The problem is that Connor's still there, and he's just going to take a certain amount away from production that he's going to be able to make. So that's the only issue. But yeah, I think the Murray one looks good. Sutton, obviously, I like. Who was the other one you said?
Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown, yeah. So, like you say, Hollywood Brown got a lot of targets. It's kind of, in a way, just anyone who wants to, do their own and stuff like that. Just look at where the ball's going. That it really does make a difference. And someone like Booty for the Patriots, the fact that he is 7-2 and he is such a big price, the fact the ball went there so much. Why? probably because Drake May likes him and thinks that he's a reliable receiver. So it's going to keep going there. All the time he has good games, it will keep going there. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, in a way, that's almost like what you want to have a look at. And you know, with running backs, it is like snap count percentages and stuff like that. The more that they take the job, more chance they got to score.
I know you said you were you got two out of three right on yours. I got 2 out of 3 on my early one. It was Waddle that let me down on that. I also had a 5-fold of running backs that we didn't talk about on the show, and I was let down by one running back, and that was Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, this is the problem, isn't it? Because if you're going to have a quarterback like Daniel Jones, then it's always possible that he will take it's like Saquon Barkley. You know, because you got Hurts, so it's like that. You're always at a chance that could be a problem. But yeah, that was unlucky then.
Yeah, that's it. That seems to be the story of my betting
story of
weekend.
his life. Oh.
Unlucky. That's all we've got time for, though. We will put our FTAG5 out on social media. That'll be going out probably tomorrow or Saturday. To keep your eye peeled for that if you want to check it over again. And we'll have lots more content coming out as well. But till then, keep it with the franchise tag.